Hello and a very warm welcome to World Panorama, the show that gives you a 360-degree view of the events that shape your world. I'm Sana Khan. Before we move ahead, here's a look at this week's top stories. A leaked NATO report claims Afghan Taliban is backed by Pakistan. Islamabad slams the report, says it has no hidden agenda in Afghanistan. Even as UN Security Council members mull the new draft resolution for Syria to weed out differences, hundreds killed as Syrian troops clash with rebels. 74 killed as supporters clash at the football match in Port Said in Egypt. Protests escalate in Egypt after the football field riot. And McLaren Mercedes sets the tone for Formula One Championship 2012, reveal the all-new MP4 27. Well, those were the top stories this week. Our focus for today is the leaked US military report on Afghanistan. This report has made some big revelations involving Pakistan's alleged links to Afghan Taliban. Now, if true, this could have major ramifications for not the entire region, but also the US. We will be discussing all of that in detail with our special guest today. That's Mr. Matthew Joseph. He's a faculty member at the Academy of International Studies at Jamia Millia Islamia. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today, sir. Before we get to him, here's a look at this report. US military report titled State of Taliban leaked out this week to the Times and BBC. It's created quite a furore. Moreover, if this report is to be believed, it has exposed Pakistan's double standards in fighting terror. Here are all the details.
If the leaked NATO report is to be believed, then Taliban are all set to retake control of Afghanistan as soon as the NATO forces exit from the country. The report exposes the nexus between ISI and the Taliban. It says, the government of Pakistan remains intimately involved with the Taliban, and ISI officers advise Taliban on strategy and relay any pertinent concerns of the government of Pakistan.
What we have seen is a document that is a compilation of interviews with detainees. So it is the opinion of Taliban that have been taken off the battlefield and interviewed. Quite a few of them are obviously hardliners and hardcore Talibans, and they're expressing their opinions about how the campaign is going. The realities on the battlefield, as we have seen it in 2011, are quite different.
But Pakistan government has outrightly rejected the report. Pakistan Foreign Minister Hina Rabbani Khar called the report a strategic leak.
Old wine and even in an even older bottle. I don't think these claims are new. These claims have been made for many, many years. And we all know the reasons for that, because we had a common agenda with most of the other players in the world many, many years back, and that doesn't seem to be leaving us in terms of its effect. But more importantly, I think it would be important to look at the conversations which are being taken place with the Taliban by many other important capitals of the world. So I think I can just disregard this as potentially a strategic leak or otherwise.
Even the analysts in Pakistan have rubbished the report, calling it preposterous.
There may be some sort of indirect contact, some sort of business relationship between certain segments of the ISI and the Pakistan military and the Taliban, but to suggest that there is a formal relationship, formal channel of support between the ISI and the Taliban, I think is pretty much preposterous.
The report assumes significance as United States has already announced withdrawal of its forces from Afghanistan by 2013. The report will complicate matters for the current dispensation in Kabul, fraught with more uncertainty.
Let me get in Mr. Joseph at this point in time. Sir, what do you see as the future impact of this report if the contents of it are to be believed?
This report is nothing unusual or new. It is not a secret also. As Pakistan's foreign minister said, this was there for quite some time. If you remember, in the mid-90s, when Taliban was formed, Pakistan actually played the role of a midwife it has actually created Taliban to get strategic depth in Afghanistan. So Taliban took over power in Kabul, and then again, what happened in 2001. And after that, there was a complete strategic somersault on the part of Pakistan to side with the United States and oust Taliban. At the same time, they kept their channels open with Taliban. That is exactly happened. So what all happened in Afghanistan after that, in the sense that international strategic forces, ISAF, as it is called, their soldiers were basically attacked several times and so on and so forth.
Yes, so you're saying the situation has been there for quite some time, but we've also seen in the recent time the increasing pressure on Pakistan from America and other countries to, take a stand.
Yes, definitely. What is important, there is nothing new about this report. It is basically, the timing is important. Pakistan is right now is trying to have a kind of relationship developing between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And at the same time, United States is in the mood to get out of Afghanistan, and they are actually in talks with certain sections of Taliban.
Right.
So in order to put pressure on Pakistan, actually what is important is the timing of the leakage of this report.
We're going to, Mr. Joseph, you're going to talk more about these 2 points that you mentioned over here, stressing on the timing over there. But here's what's interesting, as Sir also mentioned, that this NATO report leaked out on a day when Pakistan's Foreign Minister Hina Rabbani Kar arrived in Kabul on a one-day visit for talks with the Afghan leadership. The NATO report contains accusations that Pakistan is playing a massive double game with the West as it publicly claims to seek a political solution to the Afghan conflict while still supporting fighters who've killed thousands of international troops. Many of the revelations concern the scale of support to the Taliban provided by Pakistan and the influence of ISI.
The intention of my visit over here was to give a very strong message to Kabul about its importance, about Pakistan's desire to have a long-standing, deep relationship with Afghanistan.
So you heard Hina Rabbani Kar over there, her visit to Afghanistan, at the same time the NATO report coming out. Too much of a coincidence? If we can talk a bit more about how Pakistan is looking at Afghanistan in the future.
Always Pakistan wanted a kind of pliant regime there in Afghanistan. In the context of Pakistan's rivalry with India, Pakistan thinks that Afghanistan, if there is a pliant regime, is there which will support Pakistan in a conflict with India. It is basically they elaborate this whole idea of their relationship with Afghanistan in the context of in a particular concept known as strategic depth. But if you see what happened in Pakistan, there is a blowback effect of that particular policy they followed with regard to Afghanistan. They supported all kinds of fundamentalist elements in Afghanistan. Actually, right now, Taliban is coming to Pakistan, and certain areas of Pakistan is Talibanized. Even some people would say, some experts would say, even certain parts of Punjab, which is the core area of Pakistan, that is also getting Talibanized. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, TTP, is basically representing that force, and which is creating a lot of tension within Pakistan, sectarian conflicts, all kinds of things are happening in Pakistan. So Pakistan is also facing terrorism. Right. It is because it is its own making. Yeah. So that is the situation. But what is important about this particular report is that the timing of the report, the leakage of that report, because Pakistan wants to have some kind of say in the future of Afghanistan. At the same time, US wants to put pressure on Pakistan. They have a very bad experience in the entire history of war on terror, because Pakistan was sheltering Osama bin Laden without the knowledge of the United States, and they had to go in and then kill him. So there is a question of sovereignty arises between, United States and Pakistan.
Let me just pick up from where you left right now. So looking at all these, aspects, what could be the future outlook for the South Asian region? Looking at taking these two factors into account, that US is mulling an early pullout of the troops from Afghanistan, also the deteriorating relationship between US and Pakistan, and the emerging partnership between China and Pakistan on the other hand.
With regard to Afghanistan, anyway, United States is withdrawing. There is no doubt about that. But one thing with regard to that withdrawal also, when Obama came to power, the total number of US troops in Afghanistan was 34,000. He has increased 66,000, so that now at the moment, the number of US troops in Afghanistan is 90,000. Yeah. But in a phased manner, they are going to withdraw a certain amount of troops from Afghanistan. But certain reports are coming from Pentagon saying that till 2024, they want to keep 25,000 troops in Afghanistan. So withdrawal of United States troops or NATO troops from Afghanistan there is a report about that, and there is a phased manner in which they are planning to do it. But ultimately, there are various kinds of reports coming out saying that the American interest in the region will continue. The troops will remain there. And they are also coming out openly, officially they are saying that we are going to be there in support of Afghan National Army. That means the kind of situation which they are right now, indulged in Iraq, that is going to repeat in Afghanistan. But there is a difference, cardinal difference between Afghanistan and Iraq. That is there.
All right, Mr. Matthew Joseph, certainly very, very important points that you've made over there. So one will have to really wait and watch as to what actually happens with Afghanistan in the days to come. US, as you mentioned, is going to continue to play a very, very crucial role in the years to come, as it has in the past. That's all the time we have for in this discussion. Thanks so much for joining us today on World Panorama. With that, we take a very short break, but lots more up ahead. The latest on Syria as the UN Security Council considers a draft resolution against Damascus. Differences emerge. Stay with us. We'll be back. Thanks for staying with us. The United Nations is divided over how to end violence in Syria. A special session of the 15-nation Security Council had been asked to consider a resolution backing an Arab League plan, but Russia and China remain to be convinced. The proposed resolution calls for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to cede power to his vice president, who would help form a unity government that would prepare for election. Here's a report.
The battle over Syria moved to the United Nations on Tuesday. On one side were the Western powers and much of the Arab world, and on the other were Russia and its allies. Russia's refusal to condemn the Syrian government for its violent suppression of popular protests has not gone down too well with other members of the Security Council.
If you do not choose to try to stand on the side of the Syrian people, then you are standing on the side of the continuing killing and abuses that are carried out every single day.
The Security Council cannot prescribe ready recipes for the outcome of domestic political process. Then you will start telling what king needs to resign and what prime minister needs to step down. This is really not the business of the Security Council.
A Security Council draft resolution calls for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to step down as the first step of a transition towards democracy.
I know what side we're on. I know what side the majority of the Council is on, and we will work until we can, find a way to usefully support the Arab League's initiative, send a clear message to the Assad regime and the people of Syria, and then work toward a peaceful resolution of this terrible conflict.
Russia is most likely to veto the draft resolution unless military intervention is explicitly ruled out. And going by the mood in the world body, a unanimous solution seems impossible. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has called for immediate action to end the bloodshed in Syria.
While I fully support the political solution of this issue, that is quite advisable, but first and foremost, we have to take necessary action so that we would not lose any more human lives. Therefore, first, the violence, all violence must stop. And I sincerely hope that this will be led into a political solution.
A UN estimate says that in the 10-month crackdown by Bashar al-Assad's regime against protesters, more than 5,000 civilian lives have been lost. Assad maintained that he is fighting outside forces and is using legitimate methods to protect the country. As the Syrians fight and die every day, it is imperative that a solution is found at the earliest.
And as we speak, hectic negotiations are going on to weed out differences at the UN Security Council. Let's move on to the US elections now, where Mitt Romney cruised to a blowout victory in Florida's Republican US presidential primary on the 31st of January that put him back in front in the fight for his party's nomination to face President Barack Obama, and left chief rival Newt Gingrich reeling, but vowing to fight on. With 70% of the vote counted, Romney had 47% of the votes to Gingrich's 32% in the largest of the four Republican presidential nomination contests so far this year. A major victory for Mitt Romney in Florida.
Thank you to the people in this room and to the people all over Florida. Thank you tonight for this great victory. There are fewer candidates tonight than when the race began, but three gentlemen are serious and able competitors, and they're still in the race, and I want to congratulate them on another hard-fought contest in this campaign.
The former Massachusetts governor scored a significant win in the Republican race for the White House, beating out Newt Gingrich.
And I think Florida did something very important, coming on top of South Carolina. It is now clear that this will be a two-person race between the conservative leader, Newt Gingrich, and the Massachusetts moderate.
Ron Paul and Rick Santorum reacted to being dealt big losses in Florida after falling to winner Mitt Romney.
Something big is happening in this country, and it's all very favorable. There's a mess up in Washington. They've created a mess. They've given us a lousy foreign policy. They've given us a lousy budget, and they've given us a lousy recession. But where the wonderful thing is happening is in the grassroots. People are beginning to realize that the problem is too much government. We need more personal liberty.
We can't allow our nominee to be the issue in the campaign. So I say to the people of Nevada, in fact, to the people across this country, if you want a strong, principled conservative who's not going to be the issue in the campaign, who's going to make Barack Obama the issue in this campaign, please vote for me and help us out. Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
Though Romney's victory could be a turning point, senior Republicans say the race for the nomination is far from over. Despite his edge in Florida, Romney still narrowly trails Gingrich in some national polls. The next test comes February 4th, when Nevada holds its caucus. All right, over to Europe now. Optimism, it seems, wasn't short supply at the 2012 annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, in Switzerland, which ended on Sunday. Keynote speakers and panelists alike focused on a number of problems that are getting in the way of global prosperity. Chief among them, unemployment followed by a shortage of highly trained workers needed to spur innovation and solve social challenges. Here's more.
The World Economic Forum kicked off in Davos earlier this month, and trade ministers from key countries including India, Brazil, China, the US and the EU converged in the Swiss Alps to meet on the sidelines of the summit. The absence of a breakthrough in the ongoing Doha round of global trade talks has resulted in some developed countries pushing for limited trade opening pacts in select sectors involving just a few important countries.
My hope is that this year we recover momentum for the international trade agenda. I think trade talks have been paralyzed for some years now, and I think we need to move on and to recognize that international trade is something positive for growth and for job creation.
India, on its part, opposed all plans by developed countries to sign a limited market opening pact and also called for a check on rising protectionism. The Doha round of trade talks has reached an impasse with countries like India, China and Brazil refusing to give in to the US demand of opening up their markets more than the others. The need for recreating an environment for maximum job creation was also on the agenda this year, with some of the world's top bankers outlining priorities for the new year.
The world needs 400 million new jobs between now and year-end, decade end, and not counting the 200 million that you need just to get back to full employment right now. That's 600 million jobs. That should be our #1 priority.
In spite of the positivity exuded by most attendees of Davos 2012, a strong undercurrent of the gloom and doom of the euro debt crisis was still felt. With the national debt of many countries in the EU still a concern, international lenders call for increased collective action to tackle the problem.
With the right set of measures, the worst can definitely be avoided and the recovery can be put back on track. These measures can be taken, need to be taken, and need to be taken urgently.
By the end of the summit, there was some cheer in the scenic Swiss town, however, as positive data from the US coupled with the nascent consensus among the Euro countries on how to face the crisis lifted the mood of the conference.
Time for a very short break. With that, on the other side, we're going to talk about football fury in Egypt, where a football match goes out of control. At least 76 people have died in clashes over there. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Let's now quickly take a look at some of the other developments across the globe in our next report.
At least 74 people were killed and hundreds injured after soccer fans rushed the field in the seaside city of Port Said following an upset victory by the home team over Egypt's top club. This set of clashes and a stampede as riot police failed to bring the situation under control. Wednesday's tragedy was a bloody reminder of the deteriorating security in the Arab world's most populous country as instability continues nearly a year after former President Hosni Mubarak was swept out of power in a popular uprising. The Supreme Court says it will charge Pakistan's Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani with contempt for his failure to reopen an old corruption case against the president. Thursday's decision follows an attempt by the Prime Minister's lawyer to avoid the charges in a hearing. The court says it would bring the contempt trial against Gilani on February the 13th. The Prime Minister could face 6 months in prison and be disqualified from holding office if convicted. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange on Wednesday launched a final attempt to persuade British officials not to extradite him to Sweden, where he faces sex crimes allegations. Legal experts say it would mount to a major departure from past practice if the Supreme Court blocks Assange's extradition. Assange is yet to be charged. However, in the event he is convicted, he could face anything from fines to 6 years imprisonment. The search of the Costa Concordia cruise ship was suspended after the capsized vessel slipped. Officials hope to begin salvage work soon, including pumping oil off the wreck, as hopes fade of finding any more survivors. 23 people are missing and 11 confirmed dead after the huge ship crashed into rocks. There are fears the vessel might slip into deeper water off the Tuscan coast. French President Nicolas Sarkozy welcomed India's decision to select Dassault as the preferred bidder for a multi-billion-dollar fighter jet contract. India will buy 126 French-made combat aircraft in a massive 54,000 crore deal that will increase the might of the world's 4th largest air force.
Well, with that, it's now time to gear up for some sports action in our next segment. Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button took the wraps off McLaren's sleek new Formula One car on the 1st of February. The silver and red MP427 has none of the ugly bumps on the nose, predicted to become a feature of this year's crop after Caterham recently revealed a platypus front wing that received an immediate thumbs down from the aesthetes. Hamilton and Button raced for McLaren again after the team finished distant runners-up behind 2011 world champions Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull Racing. Spaniard Jorge Lorenzo made a confidence-boosting return to MotoGP this week, setting the fastest time in the first of the 3 pre-season test days at Malaysia's Sepang circuit. Yamaha's Lorenzo clocked 2.01.657 seconds, 0.346 of a second faster than compatriot Dani Pedrosa on his Honda, with 2011 Rookie of the Year Carl Crutchlow third quickest but a further 0.218 of a second behind. Barcelona coach Pep Guardiola said his team had not hit rock bottom after they were held to a 0-0 draw at Villarreal to slip 7 points behind leaders Real Madrid. Many fans have lost hope that their team will lift a 4th La Liga title in a row, but Guardiola defended their recent performances. Chelsea and England soccer captain John Terry will go on trial in July after he pleaded not guilty on the 1st of February to racially abusing opponent Anton Ferdinand during Premier League match in October. The trial, which could last up to 5 days, will take place after Euro 2012 tournament, when Terry is expected to line up at the heart of England's defence alongside Ferdinand's brother Rio. Terry did not attend Wednesday's hearing at Westminster Magistrates Court in central London. That's all we have for you in this edition of World's Panorama. I'll be back next week, same time, with the latest world news and events. As I sign off, take a look at the glitz and glamour at the annual Screen Actors Guild Awards that were held earlier this week. Thanks for watching.